issues. I hope you fly that.
All right, Mary, ready when you are.
The meeting is called to order. There will be an opportunity for members of the public to speak at the end of the meeting. Please call the roll.
For the record, the State Highway Commission is assembled in the Central Platte NRD building at 215 Kaufman Avenue in Grand Island. The date is Friday, October 21st, 2022, and the time is 8:30 a.m. There is a copy of the Open Meetings Act available. Commissioner Koppel,
Present.
and for those of you that are aware, he's virtual this morning. Commissioner Fagerland,
Present.
Commissioner Gertis,
Present.
Commissioner Hawks,
Present.
Commissioner Kindig,
Present.
Commissioner Leafgreen,
Here.
Commissioner Wolford.
Here.
The next order of business is review and approval of the September 23rd, 2022 meeting minutes. Sarah, please call the question.
We have a motion.
Move to approve. Second.
Commissioner Koppel,
Yes.
Commissioner Fagerland,
Yes.
Commissioner Gertis,
Yes.
Commissioner Hawks,
Yes.
Commissioner Kindig,
Yes.
Commissioner Leafgreen,
Yes.
Commissioner Wolford.
Yes.
Approved.
The next order of business is the introductions. We have with us this morning Joe Warning of the Federal Highway Administration, Joe, and his assistant, Rusty General. Thank you for being here. Also, we have Lee Borelman, Director of Engineering from the City of Hastings. We have Tim Golka, engineer from the City of Grand Island. Thank you for being here. And Steve Reelman who's also an engineer from Hall County. Thank you for being here. Our next meeting agenda item is director's remarks, and John Selmer, who is the director of the Nebraska Department of Transportation, is not able to be with us. So this morning, our remarks will be from Khalil Jabbar, who is the Deputy Director of Engineering for the Nebraska Department of Transportation. Jabbar?
Good morning. Thank you, Madam Chair. Yes, John is in sunny Florida, attending the transportation conference. It's a privilege for me to be here. This is probably, I don't know how many years I've been attending these. This is the first time that I'll be sitting in the director's shoes here. So we'll first give an update on what we refer to as the Bipartisan Infrastructure Law, or the Infrastructure Investment Job Act, referred to as IIJA. The Department of Transportation received over $400 million of what we refer to as an apportionment. So that's good news. The bad news is we don't have the spending authority to spend all that money. We are only funded through December 16th under a continuous resolution. However, that is not going to slow us down in terms of obligating our projects and putting it out on the street. So that's something that our team in headquarters are working pretty hard to get those projects ready, utilize whatever funding we received thus far, and very optimistic that we will see hopefully a full appropriation coming through to fund us for the remainder of the federal fiscal year. One of the things that obviously we're focused on is try our best to still apply for any of those discretionary grants that comes up our way. We have not been successful yet I do know that a few other communities have in the state of Nebraska. That's good news, but for the department, we haven't been successful thus far. We will continue to monitor those grants as they come and make sure that some of our key projects that is meet the criteria, that is ready to go and that we can apply for them. So the department is really facing a major challenge, and it's the workforce, and John spoke about it multiple times, and it's nothing really new to us. It's the rest of the industry, and a lot of government agencies are dealing with this, private sector is dealing with this. But I think when it comes to winter ops, it is going to hit us pretty hard this winter, and it's going to be very difficult for us because of our low staffing in different yards and different areas. We may not be able to provide the service that people got accustomed to. So our team is assessing and trying to figure out some of the key routes that would be a primary, that they would put a priority on those routes first, such as I-80, some of the interstates we have in the state, and do our best to make sure that we get those roads safe in time. But it will be an uphill battle. It'll be a big challenge for us. So be safe out there, please. I think one of the things that we need to be talking about, I know Wes will touch on some of the safety aspect of things. And I'm just going to carve one thing just to remind everybody of what we're dealing with. And Wes will show a slide that allude to that. But at the end of the month of September, we had 36 fatalities. That's way above what we even have encountered from January to September in 2021. And so it could be a record year, and hopefully it's not. But one of the key points out of that is over 30% of the fatalities that we have in the month of September were not buckled up. And so I think it's just a key message that we want to send out to the users, the highway users. Buckle up and phone down. It's a key message for us that we intend to make sure that we keep repeating and repeating, and hopefully people would listen to that message and take it pretty seriously, because it doesn't take much from somebody to get thrown out of a vehicle, regardless of their speed. On key projects that we have, I think that, we're in District 4, so that's a great opportunity for us. And I know Wes will talk a little bit about the two key projects, but I want to mention them briefly and let Wes talk a little bit more in depth. We've been working very hard on the Grand Island West. Actually, this is the junction US 281. This is on out west on Highway 30. We're making very good progress. And then I think just the one that I want to add that perhaps Wes might not have is all the offers for the right-of-way has been mailed out. And we have nearly 48 contracts that we're dealing with. We continue to work on the Hastings projects. And I think this, we're making good progress there. So those are the key, what from the old Build Nebraska Act first part that we haven't really finished, and very, very optimistic that we're going to get those done here in the next few years. The big corridor that we started, and I think John mentioned that the last time, is US 81 New York to Columbus. That is part of the 600 miles expressway. We have consultants on board, both Benish and HDR are working on that corridor. We're starting the planning part of it, and looking forward to being out there, meeting the public, and discuss some of these different areas and alternative, and tackle that corridor. With that, I want to thank Sarah. Most of the time, I always try to think that if anybody is making this a success, it's always Sarah. So Sarah, thank you very much for doing that. We do have our staff with us. I'm only going to introduce the ones that came from Lincoln, and Wes will take care of the rest. Shannon Ankeny and Sophia Lopez is here from the Communication Division. Thank you, ladies, for helping us in getting this done. With that, back to you, Madam Chair. Thank you.
Thank you, Khalil. We are as you know, we travel out state for 4 of our meetings as a commission. And today we were in District 4, and our director from District 4 is Mr. Jim Kendig. And Jim, I will turn the meeting to you. Welcome.
Okay, well, thank you,
Mark?
Mary. I want to welcome and thank everyone for being here to our District 4 Commission. Every 2 years, District 4 has the opportunity to host, and it's always great to be in Grand Island. I'd like to tad a little bit on what Khalil was talking about. You know, it really is weighing heavy on our hearts on these fatalities. I know the commission, we've talked about it and so forth, but year to date, there's 215 or thereabout that many fatalities already this year. From January to September, there were 206 fatalities on 181 crashes. That's compared to 159 fatalities a year ago to that date. And I've got 5 points here that I was reading. This comes from the Governor's Highway Safety Association, things maybe we don't think about in fatalities and crashes, but rural roads, the rural, not the urban, account for almost half of the fatal crashes. The risk of a fatal accident on a rural road is 62% higher versus urban areas. Over half the motorists killed, and what Khalil was alluding to, were not wearing seatbelts. And we hear that year after year after year. And it's like Russian roulette with a gun when you get in a car if you don't put on your seatbelts. It's so ridiculous. And the other top causes are speeding, distraction, and alcohol and drug use. Another interesting fact is challenging terrain isn't always the issue, as 61% of the crashes are on straight sections of roads. And it kind of concludes to the fact that driving safe creates safe roads. Now, one thing that we constantly do, and I know the Department of Transportation does, is they're constantly looking at traffic, changing traffic flows to upgrade and enhance the highways to make them as safe as possible. So I know the Department of Roads does a lot of things to make things as safe as they can. Wes is going to tell us about a lot of the maintenance that we're doing and some of the new projects that we have going and so forth. Safety is probably one of the #1 priorities of what they take into consideration. But changing the tactics and the way people drive is of great concern. And this year, we're showing some large increases compared to what we have had. So where we go from there and what ends up at the end of the year, we don't know. But right now, the trend does not look very good for this year on crashes and fatalities. And with that, I'll turn it over to our district engineer, Wes Waldron. And Wes?
Thank you, Jim. I don't know if I should be at the podium if I'll walk view of I'm going to show a PowerPoint. Does everybody see okay, or would you rather have me off to the side? Okay, well, welcome to District 4 State Highway Commission. We always enjoy having you out, and it's every 2 years, as they alluded to. So they do 4 districts each year, and this is our odd year. So they'll be back in District 4 in 2 years, and So when I go over my projects, I'll be going over 2 years worth of projects. There are a few that I won't cover, but I'm covering the majority of them. And I want to also point out, we've got Eric Klein here. He's the construction engineer for District 4. And he essentially runs the district when I'm not here, and he really is a big help to me running the district. This is
Right.
Okay. Here's a map showing the District 4 area. As you can see, we run from Valley County, where Ord is located, all the way down to Kansas. And then for the west side of the district, it's at the Dawson-Buffalo County line to the Seward-York County line. We have about, I think about 100 miles of interstate, 110 miles of Interstate 80, and 138 miles of expressway. It contains 1,709 centerline miles of highway and 623 bridge-length structures. We have the most lane miles of highway of any district in the state. As Jim said, and Khalil, I want to discuss safety. This is an older crash report that we get showing fatality report, showing the July report, where we had, can't quite read that if it's 20, but fatalities are up this year. We're very concerned about this. The problem is we have 6,734,000 police reported crashes per year. There's 36,560 fatalities per year and 2,710,000 injuries per year, and then 4,807 property damage crashes per year. There's the fatality rate is 1.13 per 100 million vehicle miles traveled. But what's that equate to? For every one person killed in a motor vehicle crash, 9 people were hospitalized, 88 people were treated and released from emergency departments. This is just a Venn diagram showing, what are the causes of crashes and injuries. And as you can see, 93% is the estimate for driver factors. 34% is roadway factors. Vehicle factors are 13%. Out of the 32,000 people killed in traffic crashes, 9,500 were not using seat belts, cars using seats. 10,000 were the result of drunk driving. 9,500 were impacted by speeding. And then I also want to point out cell phone usage is distracted driving, I think, is a huge problem. And I think that's why one of the big reasons our fatalities are up. What is common about all these factors? An accident is an unfortunate incident that happens unexpectedly and unintentionally, typically resulting in damage or injury. What are we doing about this? Traditional approach is that traffic deaths are inevitable, perfect human behavior. We prevent collisions, individual responsibility. Saving lives is expensive. We're now switching to a vision zero, where we want to try to say that traffic deaths are preventable. Integrate human failing into the approach, prevent fatal and severe crashes. Use the systems approach. Saving lives is not expensive. This is a safe system approach. It's a collaborative, systematic approach to improving safety. Systems, agencies, public transportation networks, legislation, funding that work together to prevent fatalities and serious injuries. You see, we have the safe road users, so that's the driver, safe vehicles. As if you remember the Venn diagram, our vehicles are lower on what they believe is for crashes. Safe speeds, safe roads, and post-crash care. We're also looking at traffic incident management, trying to clear crashes as fast as possible from busy roads like the interstate. This is a diagram that I saw, and it was presented by a safety guy from FHWA. And I really like this diagram, and it shows that like for a crash to happen, like there's got to be something that blocks it and causes the crash to happen. if we can get everything to line up, you won't get a crash. Or a death and serious injury only happen when all the layers fail, so like it goes through. But if we have safe roads, I'll show you some of the things we're doing to try to improve the safety of our roads. We can prevent the crash from happening. Center line rumble strips is one of the big ones that we're looking at. We used to do center line rumble strips. We had a policy that there had to be so many, lane departure crashes, crossover crashes, and we're looking at that now. It's thought that center line rumble strips can do a 44 to 64% reduction in head-on, fatal, and injury crashes on 2-lane rural roads. The cost benefit on it is estimated to be 177 to 1. They're very economical to install. We've been installing some center line rumble strips on our head-to-head highways. This is Highway 30, just west of Wood River. You can see the ethanol plant to the south here, but you can see the center line rumble strips. For distracted driving, I think these are going to be very effective. We're going to start installing them on all our head-to-head traffic when we do resurfacing projects. We're looking at widening the pavement to 28-foot top, and this shows the benefit cost ratio for different ADTs. So 2000, we have a 5.2. We used to use 2000 for the 28-foot top when we would consider going to a 28-foot top. Now we're dropping it down to 1000. We still have a benefit cost ratio of 3.5 on that. Safety edge is, we call it the beveled edge in Nebraska. That's just dropping the pavement at 30 degrees on the edge. And that really helps with tire scrubbing. Like if you drop a wheel off the edge of the pavement, there's a drop off. So we're installing that on all our roads that have 6 foot or less shoulder width, surface shoulder width. And then longitudinal rubble strips and stripes. The longitudinal rubble stripes are, the shoulder ones are 13 to 51% effective in reducing crashes. And center line here's the center line that we discussed previously, is 44 to 64%. This is Highway 281 between the two junctions of Nebraska 22 north of Grand Island, north of St. Paul. You can see we've gone to a 28-foot top here. But then if you take a close-up on the edge of the pavement, you can see the safety edge here. And then you can also see we have center line rumble strips. We're wondering when we do a chip seal on these, does that affect the, like the sound that we get from them? But we found that it doesn't. Roundabouts are another thing we're looking at installing more of. They have an 82% reduction in fatal and injury crashes and a 78% reduction in fatal and injury crashes, that's compared to a traffic signal. This is Adams Central, west of Hastings, and there's a lot of young drivers going to school here. This is a high school, and they just built this grade school a few years ago, and they were very concerned about this intersection with the young drivers going across it or coming out onto the highway. A roundabout really slows the traffic down, does the traffic calming, and it makes it much safer for those young drivers. Offset right turn lanes, safety benefits. It allows for a stopped vehicle to see past a turning vehicle at the intersection. So if you didn't have the offset, the turning vehicle would be slowing down to turn. A lot of times the person sitting at the stop sign will pull out and won't realize that there's somebody like coming behind them that is still in the traffic lane. So we converted this to an offset, so it gets them off the highway faster and opens up the side distance there. It also gets the turning vehicle out of the traffic lane. Reduce left turn conflict intersections. This is something that's relatively new to the state. We built one on Highway 91 and 87 in District 3, and we were having a crash problem up there with failure to yield crashes. And I'll show you what this entails. We call them an R-cut. But rather than being able to go straight across, if you're trying to cross, you have to turn and then get over and into a turn lane and make a U-turn. We actually pulled that out too. Considering installing these on a lot of intersections along 81.
Sir, can I ask, does semi make that U-turn?
Yes.
Diagram doesn't show.
When we had, on, I think we actually had to make the bulb out larger on, when they built the one at Humphrey. But, you know, like they did that and, I think because the semis were running off the edge. And I think that worked out better. So we learn as we go too. Thank you for the question. This is what we're looking at for Dove Road in Hebron. We've had a crash history with people trying to go across 81. And so we're looking at installing these. And if you see here, this is a bulb out. Then there's a bulb out here. We're going to do several intersections here, but I'm just showing Dove Road. That's probably one of the major ones that we're looking at. Median barriers. They, if you've seen along the interstate in District 1, it'd be Utica East, Utica to Lincoln. They put down paving in the median. We were getting all kinds of calls. What are they doing here? And are they building a bike trail or what? But actually, that's the mow strip so that they don't have to mow under the cable. Cable median barrier. We've looked at it statewide, and you can see the benefit cost ratios that we're estimating. So it's as high as 18, Lexington to Kearney. And then Kearney to GI is 12, GI to York is 9, York to Lincoln is 8, Lincoln to Mahoney is 11. So we're looking at installing these. This will prevent crossover crashes. A lot of people ask if they'll stop a semi. They've got videos of semis hitting it. This is the cable median barrier in Bellevue along 275. See it here installed. And then this is the mow strip. This is taken from the Utica interchange looking over into District 1. That's what they've installed. They're going to be putting in the cable median barrier next season, I believe. For construction safety enhancements, we started putting centerline cones in advance of flagger stations. And that just gives people, when they're coming into a flagger station, a stop condition, notice that, hey, something's coming up. And we think that's been very effective. I think that that started in District 7. Then we're using a notch wedge detail, and we're also widening out our horizontal curves. This is the notch wedge, which while the road's under construction, you know, if you have to go off here, this acts like a safety edge. You can easily transfer, you know, go off it and come back on. It doesn't catch your tire. For the widening, the curve widening, just an additional 2 feet. So this is a 28-foot top, so we're widening an additional 2 feet here. That really helps. Again, road safety is a complex issue. The driver is the weakest link in this system, as you can see from the Venn diagram. But what we want to emphasize is that people need to buckle up and put their phone down. Next, I'm going to get into projects that we're looking at. Khalil alluded to the Build Nebraska Act projects in District 4. We have the US 6 Hastings Southeast from the east end of the current 5-lane on J Street to just past Showboat Road. We're planning on building a 3-lane new concrete pavement. Project length is 2.4 miles long. Estimated cost is $38.1 million. Then we have the Grand Island West project, and that's from the end of the 4-lane on US 30. We're going to extend the 4-lane out to just past Monitor Road. The project length is approximately 3.9 miles long. Estimated cost on it is approximately $41.3 million. And then, as Khalil said, we're starting the planning stages for the US 81 to York to Columbus Expressway projects. That's from the north end of the York bypass 4-lane to the 4-lane south of Columbus. Project length on it is 40.1 miles. Estimated cost for all of this will be $287 million. I imagine this will get broken into smaller segments. You know, like there'll probably be 4 or 5 possible segments in this when we finally get our plans finalized. For the planning process, each district is allocated a budget based on its 20-year needs and the amount of funding available. The district engineer selects the projects. I think I need to edit this because I get help from Eric. We've got a project delivery engineer, Kate Ames, helps a lot. We get, input, Jim gets input, and also the public, we get input from the public, which is what we're here for today. Some of the tools used to select projects are the pavement management system, the Nebraska Serviceability Index. That's a rating on the pavement. 0 would be a failed pavement, 100 would be a brand new perfect pavement. The International Roughness Index, that's how smooth the pavement is. Bridge management system, traffic counts, accident reports. I should change that to crash reports, and public input. The current program book, and usually we have copies available for people to take, but you can get them on our website. And this is the map out of the program book showing the projects. The District 4 improvement map is on page 21. Fiscal year 2023 projects are shown in red. They're described on page 22. They contain 16 projects with an average estimated cost of $5.2 million and totaling $83.5 million. Fiscal year 24 to 28 projects are shown in blue, pages 23 through 26 of the program book. They contain 92 projects with an average estimated cost of $6.18 million and totaling $568 million. These numbers do not include the capital improvement projects discussed earlier. I'm just now going to go over projects we hope to construct the next season. We have S40D, the Prosser Spur. This is a lower volume spur. It only has 648 ADT, but it's getting to the point where, we have to do something with it. It's 5.3 miles long and the estimated cost on it is $4.3 million. There's a series of multiple culverts here that are corroded through. I couldn't get down and get a picture inside of them. They were standing in water. S93A, the Henderson Spur. We're going to resurface, do bridge repair. Project length is 6.7 miles. Estimated cost is $4.1 million. ADT is 2,121 north of I-80 and 3,140 south of I-80. Nebraska 14, Superior north and south. We're going to mill and resurface and do bridge repair on it. The project length is 6.4 miles. Estimated cost is $6.3 million. ADT on it is 2244. This is just south of the 136 junction on 14. The south 136 junction. Nebraska 14 in Clay Center and north. We're going to mill and resurface the highway. Project length is 5.4 miles long. Estimated cost is $3.2 million. ADT is 2,531. This is the intersection of 41 and 14 in Clay Center. And then this is out north on 14. Nebraska 22, Scotia East. We're going to resurface the highway. Project length is 8.4 miles. Estimated cost is $6.3 million. ADT on it is 749. A lot of these, the pavement, like our maintenance people are doing an excellent job of, keeping the roads where they're smooth and safe to travel. But, like if we didn't have the maintenance, the road would not look near this good. So like the underlying conditions, and this one, I think we actually pushed because we did Highway 70 northeast of Ord. The condition on it got to where we had to switch the time we were going to do them. So this one traded and got pushed back. So US 34 in Grand Island and south, the southbound side, we're going to mill and resurface, do bridge repair. Project length on it is 5.4 miles long. estimated cost is 7.2 million. ADT here is 15,062. You can see that, you know, we're getting some shoving in the asphalt, and it's just, with the amount of traffic this gets, we want to take care of this road. I-80 Phillips to Gildner, we're gonna mill, resurface, do bridge repair. Project length is 6.3 miles. Estimated cost is 9 million. ADT is 26,686. It's getting some, let's see, it's getting some bad joints on it. There's areas showing distress on it. We like to keep our interstate smooth. I-80 York to Waco. We're going to mill, resurface, bridge repair. Project length is 8.1 miles. Estimated cost is 11.3 million. ADT, you can see it's going up as we go east. Here's 28,328. US 81 Hebron South to Bruni North. I know our maintenance supervisor at Hebron will be real happy to see this one go. We've had a heck of a time holding these shoulders. You can see how cracked up they are. We're going to do a shoulder reconstruction and bridge repair on it. Project length is 16.9 miles. Estimated cost is 11.1 million. ADT down here is 5,000, just over 5,000. Then this is US 136 Knuckles County line to L85F. You can see here we've got Reinke Manufacturing is off to the south of the highway. They've got a nice paved road going into them. Our road doesn't look near as nice on 136. We're going to resurface this road. We're going to 28-foot top with bridge repair. Project length on it is 13.5 miles. Estimated cost is $9 million. ADT on it is 1,114. I think most of the culverts on this are going to be replaced too. We're having a lot of trouble with corroded out pipes. US 81 Red Cloud North. This includes the Cal Spur. The first picture is looking towards Red Cloud, and you can see the pavement's starting to show some distress. We're going to replace this bridge with a new structure. These are the Cal Spur, taken at about the same location, but the pavement's really distressed there. The traffic volume on it is really low, but we usually try to take care of our spurs when we're going past them with the project. We're going to mill, resurface, do culvert, and bridge repair, or bridge replacement. Project length 9.8 miles. Estimated cost is $7.3 million. The ADT here is 1,278 on 281. That concludes the 23 projects. These are the 24 projects that we're planning on constructing. Nebraska 2, Hazard East. We're going to resurface. We're actually putting an asphalt overlay on it. We're going to patch the concrete, do an asphalt overlay. Project length is 6.2 miles. Estimated cost is $4.9 million. ADT here is 1,523. I don't know if you can see this, but the shadowing here, if you get out and look at it, it's like micro cracking. It's along the joints and at the corners of the panels. And that's caused by alkali silica reactivity. We were using, I can't remember what the bad fly ash is. I think it's type C. We used type C fly ash for a while and cut back on the amount of the cement, but that our Platte River aggregates are reactive. So the alkali in the cement reacts with the silica in the aggregate, and when moisture gets to it, it expands. And so what you're seeing is like this is going to start working deeper and deeper. It's like almost like when you have a corroded rebar in concrete, you know, like once that corrodes and expands and pops it, then more water gets in, and over time it deteriorates faster. US 6 in Fairmont and East. This highway really got bad on us. It rutted out real bad. I think maybe we had 3 or 4 inch ruts on it. Maintenance went in and milled it and put a chip seal on it. But you know, and we're getting it through, and we're hoping that we can hold it until 2024 to the project. We're going to resurface this road. Project length is 12.4 miles. Estimated cost is $5.8 million. ADT on it is 1,711. Nebraska 10. This is from, on Nebraska 10, from Nebraska 40, north of Kearney, going north. We're going to resurface the highway. The project length is 4.8 miles. Estimated cost is 2.5 million. ADT on it is 4,760. Nebraska 41, Clay Center East. We're going to resurface 41 to the county line from Clay Center. The project length is 11.6 miles. Estimated cost is $6 million. ADT here is 669. Nebraska 74, Kearney Adams County line east. This is 74 from the county line, the Adams Kearney County line, all the way to Air. And project length is 18.1 miles. Estimated cost is 7.9 million. ADT on this stretch is 568. We've been having to do a lot of patching on this stretch, and it's time to resurface it. Nebraska 74, Ong Spur to US 81. We're doing Ong Spur west right now from 14 to Ong Spur, and this will be a continuation to get it to 81. We're going to resurface the road. Project length is 13.3 miles. Estimated cost is 4.6 million, and it's an ADT of 915. Then we have Nebraska 74, Strang Spurs. This includes the Strang and Ohio spurs. We're going to resurface the highway. Project length 11.7 miles. Estimated cost 5.8 million. ADT down here is 627. You can see here that the edge deterioration. I think when we first started using the safety edge, I was reading about it. There's some Texas highwayman that said when you lose the edge, you've lost the pavement. So we're thinking the safety edge, beveled edge, is really going to help us on maintaining the edge of our pavements. So that's another added benefit of having it. Nebraska 11, South Junction to Nebraska 58 to Nebraska 92. We're going to resurface a road. Project length is 12 miles long. Estimated cost is 5.6 million. ADT is 991. This is pretty close to the town, and you can see this curve here, how curves always off track, you know, so I think widening the curves, I went to Washington a few years ago, and Wyoming did a study. And this might contradict what you were saying, Jim, about crashes happening on straightaways. Wyoming found that 70% of their crashes happen on or near horizontal curves. So I'm thinking widening curves has a good payback. I-80 Dawson County line to Odessa. This is a concrete pavement replacement, reconstructing the interstate. The project length is 9.5 miles long. Estimated cost is 45.3 million. ADT here is 23,060. I-80 Minden to Gibbon. We're going to mill and resurface it. Project length is 4.5 miles. Estimated cost 1.8 million. ADT is 25,110. You can see here the joints. We're getting some bad joints in it. We'll probably have to do some pavement, you know, full depth repair on these, and then we'll mill it and resurface it. I-80 York to Utica. I'm showing the District 1 photo. This is for the cable median barrier. We're planning on installing and doing York to Utica in 2024 with cable median barrier. Project length is 14.7 miles long. Estimated cost is $5.5 million. ADT down here is 38,328. US 81 Belvedere North. We're going to replace the southbound bridge. The project length, we say 0 miles for a bridge project, but you know we'll have to raise the grade on it. What we're planning on doing is increasing the clearance over the UP Railroad underneath. And I think currently it's around 22 feet. We're trying to get 25 feet on it. The project, the estimated cost on this is $8 million. The ADT is 4,764. And this also includes a US 136 bridge over Dry Creek, and it's approximately 2.5 miles east of US 81. We put that in, and they're both bridge projects, and we thought it'd be good to combine these two. This is a picture looking down on the structure we're gonna replace. You can see it has a lot less clearance, you know, because I'm standing a lot higher taking this image. Then we have US 281, St. Library, north and south. We're gonna resurface, actually, we're gonna asphalt overlay it, so it'll have concrete patching and then receive an asphalt overlay. Project length is 6.1 miles long. Estimated cost is $7.2 million. ADT here is 4,586. Again, this has severe ASR in it. This is up by the junction with Highway 58. That concludes my presentation. We'll now open up the meeting to receive your comments and input.
Are there any questions for Wes from the commission?
You talked about the safety improvements on the rural roads, center line rumble strips and 20-foot top. I assume you're talking statewide.
Yes,
It's not just District 4.
no, that's statewide.
That's a policy. Is that?
And that came from our strategic safety team.
So
And we have representatives from roadway design, traffic, I'm on it, but we're thinking statewide. Yeah,
that's a
it's
done deal
systematic.
now, and we're going to start seeing that on our roads in rural areas.
Yes, some of them that are already in the pipeline may not get it, but you know, we're gonna try to implement it as fast as possible.
Have you done an estimate for the changing these 24-foot top roads to 20?
They've looked at it. I don't have that estimate, but I think, and we're using safety funds for that. So that's a use for our safety funds. And,
That's a-
and
Pretty big deal though, on these roads. I mean, you're going to end up doing grading and culverts and people don't think 4 foot more is a big deal, but it is.
yeah, it depends on the road. You know, a lot of our roads have good earth shoulders on them, you know, and on those, it won't cost that much. Some of them will have to do grading, yes.
So is that now baked into the?
And on that, it's, in the 28-foot top is 1,000 ADT and higher. So, you know, like, not all the roads are gonna be 28-foot top. Centerline rumble strips will be all the roads. And I think an estimate on the centerline rumble strips, the last one I saw, I think was $870 a mile to install those.
If I may, and you're correct, Commissioner, I mean, we're rolling this, we shared it with the DE late last year. We rolled the policy in place for 1,000, you saw the benefit. And when we ran the overall analysis for it, we have a lot of those segments that have 6-foot earth shoulder, and we were able to actually add that without a whole lot of, you know, utilizing the growth when we mill. But it's added cost. So if you think per mile, I mean, we're not going to say it could be 50,000 to 100,000, depends on the location. But I think it's with the benefit that we're receiving, I think it's federally funded, it's eligible, and I think we're utilizing or maximizing the HSIP use of those.
So does this go into the needs formula then for each district?
It will be,
Yeah.
that is correct.
And an added benefit of that allows us to install the edge line rumble stripes. And there's additional benefits to just the sound factor on those, because when those are installed underneath the white edge line. And so that gives you wet reflectivity during rain, because, you know, on the vertical surface, when you're coming onto it. So that's an added benefit to that. And those, you know, like, I think it's really gonna improve our safety.
I think it's a good deal. I'm glad to see you doing it.
And-
I really
and-
am.
and-
I just want to see where all the costs are going.
You know,
coming.
And it will get the beveled edge too, so.
I think if one thing, you know, we've been looking at this, the number, and we stuck with the 2,000, and we recognize, and I think that was way back, that, you know, we must do something about that here. We don't have the benefit cost ratio when you are less than the 1,000 ADT. But, you know, the 1,000 to 2,000, you know, there's quite a bit of segments that we have not done. And I think that to me was the key, the trip that we needed, whether Wes is referring to some of the safety features or countermeasures that we're utilizing. That is going to provide that opportunity there.
But when you said earlier that you have a 62% greater chance of fatality on a rural road than urban, to me, that says it all. That you guys need to be looking at safety funds there. That's where our fatal crash is.
And edge of pavement drop-offs are a huge factor now with farm equipment isn't getting any narrower.
This is a good thing. Thank you. Very good. It's a good thing.
It'll take a while, but like after a while, I think our roads are gonna be a lot safer.
Will there be the possibility of we get into this speed limit discrepancy that we've finally kind of gotten over, that we've had fought for 20 years? If you have roads that are not built to sustain the speed that these with average daily traffic of 1,000 or more, and you're going to have these roads with 1,000 or less that are going to be 4 feet narrower, are we going to have this potentially, okay, we're going to lower the speed limits on those with a average daily traffic of 1,000 or less? And so we got the discrepancies that we've had in the past.
Do you want to take that?
Yeah, and I think, Commissioner, each location, obviously, we conduct traffic studies because we want to address not just the width of the pavement, there's, the ADT, the geometry of the road, some of the crashes, some of the trends that we see on those segments. The minimum obviously is 24 feet. So it's added 4 feet, 2 feet on each side is an added benefit to some of these segments. When we look at the speed limit and it's just a combination of those different factors, unless there's something that prevents us from carrying the same regular speed that, in that corridor, you're probably not going to see a whole lot. Now, if there is some restriction based on that traffic study, then that's when we go and reduce the speed. But it has to be, key restriction that, forces us to drop that speed. Outside of that, bridge width is there, the pavement's 24 foot wide. I think you're going to see a continuity in that speed limit through that corridor.
So I think that means we're planning on keeping
I just don't
standard
want to get
speed
into
limits.
what we had 20 years
No,
ago.
you won't, hopefully.
Thank you. Are there any other questions from the commission? I have a quick, go ahead.
You gonna make a comment or do you have questions?
I have some stuff I'd like to.
Okay, yeah, come on.
Well,
I
wait.
think,
When we get ready for that, he'll be
Okay.
able to come forward. I said, when
Just a
we get
minute.
ready for that segment, you will call forward. I have a quick question on that 61% rural roads, and we're mainly talking about highways, which we're responsible. How about county roads, the
that
gravel?
I think county roads would be included in that number.
Okay, do we have any statistics on that? I know that's not in our,
We do get reports on the crashes, and I didn't bring one of those along, but they have a breakdown if on what type of road it is, like state highway, county road, urban.
and I realize the counties are responsible for their county roads, but when there's a safety issue, it doesn't matter if you crashed on one or the other, it's still a crash, but yet the responsibility for maintenance, and safety, that there is.
And the 28-foot top, we are gonna make safety funds available to counties for their surface roads when they resurface. But then that opens them up to, it's a federal aid project then, and so we'll have to see how that goes. But if we provide safety funds, we want them to install it. I'd like to get the counties to start looking at the safety edge, beveled edge, and maybe doing some of these other features. I don't think we've got that out to the counties yet.
Okay,
well as we
so
could.
have you brought that in front of NACO there?
No, but we've got Steve Reilly here, so.
I should mention, I was gonna say it later, at our December meeting, well, I'll mention that during the public input part. There is a reach out from the Department of Roads to counties, just talk about the 28-foot top. And because it is a county road that doesn't have the wide ditches and safer slopes that main state highways do, they've offered, with safety funds, widen the roads to 28 feet, widen the dirt shoulders if it's needed, right-of-way grading and stuff like that. And then any resurfacing for the original 24-foot roadway is up to the county. But there are safety funds out there that have reached out to the county. We'll be talking about that in our December meeting in Kearney, where NACO's there, and the Association of County Engineers, County Highway Superintendents, and County Surveyors will be there. We'll have probably 80% of the county highway superintendent, engineers and surveyors there, so we'll have a good audience.
That sounds like a really good, good positive approach for sure. Thank you. Are there any other questions from the commission? If not, we'll move on. And thank you, Wes, for your presentation. It
Thank you.
was very good. If not, we'll move on to the public input part. Sarah, are there any letters for the record?
Nope. I have none.
Okay, there are none. We'll head on to our public coming up to present what information they have for the commission. Please come to the podium and spell your first and last name for the record before speaking.
I'm Bob Ranke, B-O-B, Ranke is R-E-I-N-K-E. I'm here to talk for Thayer County, Highway 136 in Thayer County. First of all, I appreciate everything you've done. You guys got a big job and had limited information when I put this together, so I think if you want to pass those down, some of this stuff you're already addressing, I believe. I have some pictures on this. They're JPEG. Could you bring them up on the screen, please? I'll just go through this quickly. My driveway is 136. I'm involved with Ranke Manufacturing. Also, I have other business interests. I spend a lot of time on 136, and of all the places I drive, it seems to be in about the worst condition of anything around. We really need a tougher resurfacing, one that's going to last longer. We get lots of heavy traffic. I don't know how the traffic count exactly works, but we had a lot of semi. All of those 16, if you could just bring them up. There's semis can have 20,000 pounds on an axle. A car has about 1,000. So we had a lot of tons of traffic. So number 2, widening. It sounds like you're already on top of that. Here's some pictures of how bad this highway is. I don't know how many of you have been down there to see it. We got 5 layers of patches there, and it's rougher than anything, especially the 3/4 ton pickup. We only got 10'4" between the white and the yellow line. Sounds like you're looking at widening it. Here's a canyon. I want you to see this. I don't know if you're aware of this. The road department was trying to scrape the road with a maintainer. They dropped in that canyon. They stuck that road grader on in. I saw it. I didn't get a picture, but it was almost straight up and down with the wheels hanging in the air. That canyon is deep. There's no guardrail. Something needs to be done there. I mean, the people that own that property, it's the chemical company there. I can't remember. They changed hands years ago with Superior Deschler. They need to fix their canyon for one thing.
And that is actually off the state right away.
Yeah, but they need to be doing
Yeah.
something for safety there, so. The other thing I've got on this sheet is we really need a turning lane for Ranke Manufacturing, especially that hill east of the 5300 road. You come out there and people jump over that right away. That's my driveway, by the way, right there, so. And then the other thing, and this is a low cost thing, we'd really like the speed limit signs on Deschler moved 1 mile further west. That 55 speed limit's good for Deschler, but it should include that 5300 road with Ranke's. That's our lifeline. There's 500 people working there. We get hundreds of cars in and out every day. Semis, we ship out 40 pivots in a day. There's 40 semis going out and 40 semis bringing product in. We really need something there. And guardrails, and you'll see on some of these pictures as you go through it, flip through the next ones. These are patches. The last item I got, number 7, is we need to have better patches. These patches just don't work. And they patch them and they fail, and they patch and they fail. And so that's how bad a road is. There's the lines bent and the pavement's missing right there. Go on to the next. Here's a drop off with no guardrail. That's a half a mile west of Deschler. The opposite side of the road's the same way. And I know this gentleman over here, I think Greg was talking about the cost of widening the road, this is an area where it will be expensive because there's a lot of dirt needs to be moved before you got anything to set that extra pavement on. And here's 8-inch offset. I've got another one coming up for the next one. That's over 11 inches of drop off. That's right east of this for a quarter mile. I mean, you drop off that, you do have a serious issue getting on. Yeah, your tire jumps off and that's how far it drops jumping off the pavement there. And again, no guardrail. This is looking west. That's opposite side of the other one without the guardrail. That line has been moved over 4 times. There's four lines that are moved over 3 times. So the edge breaks off and they repaint the line and the road just gets narrower and narrower. Yeah, I think that's probably it. So I have a hard copy of them pictures. I'm gonna get with you.
Thank you.
That's all I got. So thank you.
And thank you, Bob. Is there any questions from the commission of Bob? Any questions?
I just want to thank you for coming. I mean,
Okay.
you know, a lot of times citizens don't think it's worth coming to these commission meetings, but this is the kind of stuff that we need to hear because I know the department pays attention to this. And I'm sure Wes is going to be taking care of it.
Yeah. Well, I appreciate you listening to me and you guys got a big job. I understand that. So thank you.
Thank you, Bob. It is important for those of you that live in the district because we, as not only commissioners, but sometimes the department just don't catch those things or, you know, like you said, there is a big job there. It's sometimes it's hard to just kind of see where the priorities should be. And there's times when they should be more higher up on the list, but you know, there's just so many hours, so many funds that you try to spread around to the best of your ability for all the work that needs to be done. Again, thank you, Bob. Is there others that would like to have public input at this time?
Hey, Mary.
Wes, or is there any planned improvements on this stretch of highway?
Yeah, that's coming up next season. I covered this road with,
I thought
and we're going to a 20-foot top on it.
You know, back on the right there, Wes and I did drive out through that. And Wes did take a lot of pictures and we did observe a lot of what you're talking about, Bob,
Okay.
and did talk about it. And I know Wes has that down as priority but your presentation was great. It really pointed out some things that we probably didn't see. So I really appreciate that. But I know Wes is on top of it. I know that.
Okay. Sarah has a flash drive if you want to keep that, if anybody wants to pass it on to the other.
Thank you.
Okay. If there are no other questions or comments, we'll bring our next presenter forward.
Good morning, Commissioners. Welcome to Grand Island. My name is Cindy Johnson. I'm with the Grand Island Area Chamber of Commerce. And I wanted to first welcome you here for your meeting. We appreciate when you do come to Grand Island every other year. Appreciate learning about what's happening all across District 4. But more than that, or equal to that, I wanted to thank Wes and his team for the work that they do and the collaboration, the collaborative effort that they use when they are working on roads that are going to have an impact on the community of Grand Island and the county of Hall. So we have a couple events here throughout the year. One is Nebraska State Fair and one is Husker Harvest Days, when we have more people on our roads than usual. And it could become very cumbersome to have an unresponsive Department of Roads team who doesn't recognize what's happening in the community. We don't have that. What we have is a team that knows when there are going to be people coming to Grand Island, extra cars on the road, people unfamiliar with our community, and they do a yeoman's job of signing and trafficking so that the accidents are fewer, even non-existent during some of these events. So I wanted to take the opportunity to thank Wes in front of the commission and make sure that you know we appreciate him and the team in the Grand Island office. Thank you.
Thank you, Cindy. If you could, for the record, spell your first and last name, please.
Cindy, Cindy, Johnson, Johnson. And again, with the Grand Island Chamber of Commerce.
Okay, thank you. Are there any questions from the commission for Cindy?
I just appreciate the comments, Cindy, and, I mean, obviously, one of the keys, goal for the department is to do that collaboration with communities and make sure we're open and having that discussion, whether it's events or any conflicts that we have within the community. So thank you for sharing that, and I appreciate Wes' collaboration there.
Very good job. Also, we're excited to see the new Old Highway 30. So I think this will be the newest Highway 30, right? We have
Third
an
one.
old Highway 30, we have a new Highway 30, and now we're going to have the newest
Yeah.
Highway 30. We're excited to see that project come to fruition. And thank you
Thank
for
you.
bird dogging.
Thank you.
Thank you, Cindy. We have another presenter. You come forward.
Members of the commission, I thank you for coming to Grand Island as well. I guess I want to echo what Cindy said as well about working with Wes, Eric, for construction staff, project managers, and Cindy for the maintenance staff, how well we at Hall County are able to work with the Department of Roads. They're our big brothers, so to speak. They've done a lot of things before we have, so we call them for advice and guidance and follow their lead on a lot of things, like the beveled edge, things like that. And so it's helpful to us. I'm Steve Reilly, R-I-E-H-L-E, Hall County Engineer. Safety is also important to us as counties, and we sometimes are so close to it, we forget about it. And so we've arranged for our December meeting in Kearney. We've got a Nebraska Association of County Engineers, Highway Superintendents, and Surveyors. We've asked Don Butler from the Highway Safety Office to come. He's a highway safety engineer with the Department of Roads. He's going to talk about two things with us that we want to resurrect or make sure to put some emphasis on. And for us, it has to be project related. It really does. We're hands-on people. When we get down to the level of highway superintendents, we want to talk about projects. So we're going to talk about highway safety improvement program and how we might be able to do something at county levels. It's project related, so people can say, okay, I can see that, I can feel it, I can reach out and touch it. And we also want to try to resurrect county safety improvement plans. That was tried a couple of years ago and it didn't go anywhere. It wasn't as successful, and I blame some of that on the personalities, players involved, and of course, some of that blame belongs on counties. And there's some real holes we can plug there. It's not always the curves, it's not the drop-offs, it's not the steep roads. The plug I see that we really got to get involved is schools, high school kids, young adults, and the sheriff's office. They got to be part of this program. Shortly after I started with Hall County as a county engineer, there was a fatality on a county road where a high school student was going from a paved road to a gravel road and wanted to turn off right at the end of that paved road, and went to make a quick turn, and it didn't work and went end over end, and that driver would have survived had he been wearing a seatbelt. And his uncle, who I've known for a number of years, came in and talked to me and said, you got to do something with the road. You got to do something with the road. It was rough. It was washboardy. There was loose gravel. You need more signs. You need to do all that kind of stuff. And I like to, in my career, talk about the Pareto theory of 80-20. Until we get, we're not at 80-20 yet, but someday we're going to get there. And I think we still got to plug that hole. Wes talked about, had the squares up there with the holes in them. We got to plug that hole with the seat belts. And I told him, I says, take that emotion you have, take the desire you have to get the county to do something with this road so you feel better about your nephew getting killed. Take that to the schools. Talk to those kids, make them relate to it because it was their friend. It was in fatality. And that's what needs to happen. We need to get some emotion involved and get the schools involved so we can get people to wear seatbelts. I've been wearing seatbelts not all my life, but after my son was born 41 years ago, I started wearing seatbelts. Years ago, when I worked at the Department of Roads, I would get gas at the shop in Grand Island. I'd pull over to the maintenance building, 400 feet away. I already had my seatbelt on. It needs to become second nature to everybody, especially the young people. But if we can resurrect the county safety improvement plans, I think we're going to help make a difference on those rural roads
that are part of that percentage, and we can plug that hole. We've got lower traffic counts, so we've got different things going on. The center line rumble strips not necessarily gonna help us as much because we've got a lot lower traffic counts. But we do have the run off the road incidents, and we got fatalities, and a lot of them are because they're not wearing seatbelts. We had one on a paved road east of town that comes with the sharp curve, ties into Highway 30, and we've had 2 fatalities in 2 years on that road. We did all kinds of signing improvements to try to make it safer. But if both of those individuals had seatbelts on, the fatality, I don't think would have been there. I don't think the fatality would have been there. So we got to make sure we keep the eye on the prize. And I think that's one of the things to keep our eye on. It's the seatbelts.
Thank you, Steve. Are there any comments or questions from the commission? Jim?
Steve, these county safety districts, was that started amongst the association, or was that something that came down from Department of Transportation?
It came down from the Department of Transportation. They had a consultant come out and they were asking counties for volunteers. And we got a volunteer, and I'm good with volunteers, but sometimes we need to recruit as well and recruit somebody. And we got to make sure that they know what they're in for and make sure they support it. And we don't just need the highway superintendent on board. We need the county commissioners and the county board, and we need the county sheriff on board. And then we need to find some people, whether it's in the school system or somewhere, so that we can get some other people involved to get them to the table. So we plug all the holes, not just signs and road stuff. We need to plug all the holes. And that effort didn't work. And we're hoping we can get it fired up and find a couple of the right counties in December so that we can resurrect that again.
Thank you.
Are there any other questions from the commission?
Madam Chair, if I can just make a comment, we're a Department of Transportation of State of Nebraska, we're towards zero death, and I appreciate Steve's comments, and thank you, Steve. It's been a long time since Steve was an Department of Road employee, so that's why Department of Roads is always on his tongue, so. But I think, you find the department's commitment to collaborate with counties. Our local divisions is always present, and our safety group are wanting to see the success of that. Biggest dilemma for us is we really need champions. I know sometimes funding is an issue when the funding also, because we had a buyout a long time ago. So that was a good thing, but sometimes that also hurt because the HSIP is federal piece, and sometimes they conflict with each other. You have to develop a federal aid project. And so we know that in some cases did not help matters, but the commitment is there, Steve, and I think we're going to keep grinding until we figure out solutions. So thank you very much for your comment.
I have a quick comment too. What role, if any, does the insurance companies play? Sometimes in order to get people's attention, you have to get to their pocketbook. Is there any programs or there's any rate differences among our insurance companies? They're the ones that have to fund a lot of the damage, whether it's property damage, insurance on lives, all of that. Is there any movement from an insurance company, or is this too much big brother looking down on the public?
I've never thought about that, but we should, if we try to get somebody involved, we should try to get somebody from AAA or an insurance company. See if there's any input from that. I know when I was in the private sector as a contractor, the insurance company spoke volumes to us, because if we had a safety problem on a project and the insurance company come out once a year and looked at it, that affected us because that affected our pocketbook, because they said we're going to raise our premiums. Nebraska has a little bit of that because a number of our counties, I think 83 of our counties are covered by Nebraska Investment Risk Management Association, which is an insurance pool for counties. And a lot of Nebraska counties are covered by that. And there's a lot of risk at county level through the highway departments at the county level. And so they've got a person that's dedicated to that statewide. So there's a lot of pressure put on counties to do that. And then the premiums to a certain extent as a county are affected by that. I would hope that same thing would affect individuals. They can figure it out. It's a secondary offense, but it's so easy and it can save so many lives.
Maybe that's an approach that definitely needs to be looked at, because I think that might be one of the more effective.
It could be. I remember, and Khalil brings it up about the Department of Roads. When I was at the Department of Roads, which is the Department of Transportation now, I remember telling employees that I said, if you don't wear your steel-toed work boots, your insurance might not be any good, and your coverage in the workman's comp might not cover you. And HR says, well, you can't tell them that. And that's true, but you still got to figure out an incentive to get them to wear safety-toed shoes or for their seatbelts.
Also, I was going to ask you the statistics on this crashes. Is there age groups where the crashes are more prevalent, such as your 16 to 25, or even your 70, 80, 90-year-olds that are out
Yeah.
there also?
Not that I'm aware of, but I wouldn't doubt that there are some statistics out there that talk about that. I see the same thing many people do here, is, well, it's coming here this morning, there's an individual in the right lane on Highway 281 on Stanley Park Road, and then on Highway 281, that individual kept wandering over to the right side of the right lane. And I wondered what was up, and so when I went to pass them, I waited and then hurried up, sped past him, going slow, and it wasn't a phone, but he was reaching down to something. His console, and distracted driving is a problem with phones today, as well as seatbelts.
Jerome?
First, I want to address your question and I want to make a comment. If you go back to the early and mid 80s when we had the big seatbelt drive, because both states back at that time, it was not unlawful to drive without a seatbelt. Insurance companies were a major promoter and financer of the drive to make it a law. So there has been involvement from the insurance companies in the seatbelt law. And it was self-serving, I'll be the first to admit. But to address your question, have they been involved? Yes, they have. Second thing I'd like to say about your youth education. I don't know how many grandparents have put one of their grandchildren in their vehicle and tried driving without a seatbelt. They're aware of it. They are aware that you need to wear that seatbelt. And so I think the thing here is there room for improvement? Yes. But the other thing is, I think your education has been effective. Continue it. So
I remember testifying many times about legislation that, for the unicameral, that didn't make it anywhere, but it got a lot of attention. Motorcycle helmets might be one that's that way. I've got a motorcycle, I always wear a helmet, even if it wasn't required in Nebraska. If there was discussion about it becoming a primary offense and it didn't make it out of the unicameral, it wasn't passed, but at least there's a lot of attention to it, that people would start saying, maybe I should be wearing my seatbelt. We need to make people aware of it. Maybe the insurance companies can help too.
Thank you. There are no other questions. Are there other presenters this afternoon, this morning for
I had
our?
a comment on safety in this, about the roads. Indicate cars and things, vehicles are by far safer, most part, but the old cars had levers on them for the heater controls. You could reach down, feel where that lever was, adjust it without taking your eyes off the road. And you gotta look down, look at the dial, push a button, see where the little light moves, touch a touch screen. You gotta take your eyes off the road for it. The other thing that's less safe, the windshield post on that I got a 65 Chevy Impala. That post, I measured it, it's less than 2 inches wide here. Ford pickup I drove today, that thing's 5 inches wide. You can not only hide a motorcycle, you can hide a whole car behind that. The other thing is the mirror is 6 times bigger than the old car. So you're blinded by all this stuff, and I think that I don't know, whoever's involved with the vehicles needs to say, hey, make these windshield posts narrower. Maybe, I don't know, mirrors are good, but place for them too, where they're getting large. And the controls again too, you get the touch screen, that's a distraction. I don't know if there's any statistics on people messing with the touch screen controls in the car while you're driving. Just something to think about.
Good point, Bob. Thank you for bringing that to our attention. Are there any other presenters for the meeting? Not, we'll move on. First of all, I'd like to thank Jim and Wes and all of you from District 4 for hosting us. This has been a very informative and informational meeting. Thank you for your hospitality. I think we've talked about a lot of safety issues. I think that continues as a department to be one of our priorities. Weather is always a big one. We've had almost a perfect harvest season, but yet harvest isn't finished. We still have big machines going up and down our roads, so that continues to be a safety issue. And also, every time I see an interview for UNL football, talking about football, I see the backdrop with the buckle up, phones down in the backdrop. And I think that's really a great thing because it's very visible. And I think that whether people pay attention or not, it's still good that it's there, that they're promoting that program. With that, we'll have announcements of our public meetings calendar.
We have a public information meeting for the Highway 6 and 192nd and Dodge Street interchange in Omaha on December 6th. And then the next scheduled Highway Commission meeting is going to be December 9th at 8:30 a.m. in the Highway Commission room at NDOT headquarters in Lincoln. And that's all I have.
Okay, thank you, Sarah. Is there any other business to come before the commission? If not, the meeting is adjourned.
Have a good day, everyone.